No, your eyes are not deceiving you. Yes, this is the site of the 1UP Retro Cup Series Championship Finale weekend, and I'm alongside Ryan Caggiano for today's race. This is good. This is it. This is the weekend all these drivers have been looking forward to. Championship weekend with 3 drivers still in the hunt for the title. This is going to be as big a battle as we're going to see all season long.
Yeah, it is. We got 3 excellent drivers on this course today, and it's anyone's game. Some people have a more harder path, but some have easier paths. It's going to be how those drivers handle their cars in this track.
So let's lay out what the championship contenders need to do. Stephen Hunter, if he can finish in the top 10, the championship is his no matter what the others do. He can get a top 10 finish, and the other 2 can finish 1-2, and it won't matter. He will be the champion. Chris Maley needs to finish 16 or more positions ahead of Stephen Hunter to claim the championship. But before the 30, he needs to win this race and to have Hunter and Maley finish outside the top 35. It's a tall order, but it's very well possible in this kind of circuit where anything can happen, especially in the final few laps.
Yeah, especially with all the tight twists and turns on this track. It's anyone's game. You never know who's going to win it. You never know who's going to lose it.
And with qualifying taking place, we can give you the full starting lineup for the final race of the season. Nick Ortiz has put himself on the outside pole he's put himself on the front row for the 2nd week in a row. But alongside him is Henry Thomas, the pole sitter. He says he's quite good at road courses, and this proves it. He's done very well so far to get to this point, and he's doing very well in the qualifying as well. Hunter and Maley are the 2 championship contenders, and they will share row 5 starting 9th and 10th, with the 30 behind them in 16th position. They're all close to each other, so it'll be interesting to see who can get the edge early on in this race.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be mostly a fight between Hunter and Maley, but don't count the number 30 out just yet.
And with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid, and we're ready to go racing for the final time this season. This is the 1UP Retro Cup Series Live. We'll take you to the green flag for the final race of 2020. With Henry Thomas and Nick Ortiz on the front row, we're getting ready to end this 2020 season in style. Coming out of turn 10, the flagman's got the flag in hand, the green flag is out, and the final race of the 2020 season is underway. Henry Thomas gets a good jump on the field with Sam Denota right behind him. Nick Ortiz falling back a little bit, but I imagine he'll be charging back through the field in no time trying to get this lead.
Yeah, I think he will. This is a great track here, one of the most unique we've ever driven on, and I can't wait for this.
So Denota and Ortiz side by side for second. That allows Henry Thomas to get away a little bit. But Ortiz is coming back on the inside. That's going to give him the opportunity to take the lead back for the first time. He led the first lap at Motegi. Can he do the same thing here? I believe he can, because he's got the inside line on Henry Thomas right here. He will take the lead coming out of the corner, and Ortiz will have the lead for keeps, I believe, unless Henry Thomas can get a run on him here in the next few corners.
I mean, Henry Thomas is a great road course driver, we know this, but Ortiz is a playoff contender, and it's showing the class just here.
That is true, and they're side by side going through the corner, heading onto the back straightaway here at this beautiful, colorful circuit, and Nick Ortiz has the advantage going into the next corner, but I believe it will appear that Henry Thomas has the advantage. No, Ortiz has the advantage now, and he will take the lead from Henry Thomas as they head down the short chute here at this beautiful circuit, heading down towards pit entry, but no one's thinking about pitting right now. It's only lap 1. As Nick Ortiz powers off turn 10, he will see the start-finish line for the first time, and he will lead lap 1 just as he did at Motegi last week.
Yeah, I mean, that's the major difference between playoff contender and a non-playoff contender there, and it just shows in the skill of the driver, no matter the course.
Right now, the battle is for 3rd position between Sam Denota and the 00, another good road course racer, and possibly the best road course racer we have in this series, Andres Molina in the 23. He started 4th, but he's making a charge up to 3rd right now, and I believe he can get up there if the opportunity presents itself, and I believe it just has.
Yeah, great driving by the 23. Got a lot of veterans on this course, a lot of road legends, a lot of playoff contenders, and we're seeing how fast they can move up the course here.
Meanwhile, looking further back in the field, this is the battle for 8th position between playoff contender Chris Maley and Duke Anzac in the 3. Maley needs to finish far ahead of Stephen Hunter, but as you can see, Hunter is right there behind him in the 51. He's right in the 10th position. That's where he needs to finish if he wants to win the championship. He needs a 10th or better to lock it up no matter what happens. So Chris Maley is doing everything he can to get around this 3 car, but Stephen Hunter is doing exactly what he needs to do to stay in this championship hunt.
Yeah, all Hunter needs to do is play cool, keep calm, and just focus on your objective. While the 44 and the 30 have a lot of a harder task to try and upset the Hunter.
So the 51 of Hunter is currently settled into 10th position, Maley in 9th, and the 30 has settled himself up into 12th position after starting 16th, so good effort from him moving up through the field. But he's going to need a lot more than that, as Stephen Hunter and Chris Maley are still in the top 10. But back up front, Nick Ortiz has continued to lead this race. He's led every lap so far of the 2 we've had, and right now he's enjoying a fairly steady lead over the field as the 41 cars that started this race. Jacob Hammond had an issue coming to the green flag, and he had some terminal damage to his engine. He will not be able to start this race, so unfortunately for him, he will be saddled with a DNS for this race, as Nick Ortiz powers around the corner, and Thomas is closing in. This is going to be an interesting battle for the lead all race long.
Yeah, those two will be always interesting to watch each other drive around this track. We've seen it time and time again, but Nick Ortiz showing skills of what it takes for a playoff contender to be. Even though he's not hunting for the championship, he's showing that he deserves at least the top 10.
And he's proving his talents here today. He's leading on a very challenging racetrack that can catch out even the most extraordinarily talented driver. So Ortiz having a very solid outing as he completes lap number 3. And right now, pit stops will be a factor in this race. They'll have to make at least one stop in this race. We expect those to be anywhere from lap 27 to 30. Around 3 to 6 laps to go in this race is when we expect pit stops to come. So it'll be fairly late in the race when they come, but when they come, it'll happen fast and it'll happen very efficiently.
Yeah, the only problem is how long that pit mode is, and whether who's going to take the most advantage would be the undercut or the overcut. We're going to see that what happens later on.
That is true, especially on a road course. The undercut can be a very powerful factor, as long as you can find a gap to slip into in the traffic. That's another factor you need to take into account, especially considering these cars have strung themselves out very far. The top 10 are already separated by almost 5 seconds, so it'll be interesting to see which cars can manage the pit stop gap the best they can as we head down the back straightaway on lap 4.
Exactly. But right now, it's all about the Ortiz show here, and he's just driving a fantastic race so far.
Absolutely, he's driven a masterful race so far. He took the lead on the start from Henry Thomas, and he's not looked back since. As he powers down the short chute down into turn 10, a quick kink to the left, and he comes across the stripe to complete lap 4 in first place. This long front straightaway provides a lot of drafting opportunity, but Henry Thomas was just too far back to attempt to move there, as he's getting challenged by Andres Molina now for second place.
And Molina is the master of the road course, and now the number one's going to worry about Molina, and that's the scary thing.
That is true. Molina is always a threat on these road circuits. He's finished in the top 10 many times here, at least. So a top 5 is very much in the realm of possibility, maybe even a win if he can get around Nick Ortiz, which so far no one's been able to do all race long.
Yeah, it's just because of Nick Ortiz's driving style and how precision-based he is. While Molina, it's all about the speed, power, and the grunt, and the technicality of the road courses, and you can see that right now.
Making a move on Henry Thomas. That is for second position, but it looks like Henry Thomas will be able to challenge it right back, and Thomas will be able to clear Molina once again going down into the corner, and Thomas will be clear for second place. So Molina will have to settle back in the third, wait for another opportunity to strike, but as of right now, the top 5 has remained as it was at the start of the race.
Yeah, I mean, that's because of the excellent drivers we have in this course. course right now. But that Thomas has to be now a little bit worried about Molina because Thomas knows Molina's going to come around again. It's just a matter of when, not if.
That is true. He might make a move right here into this corner, but Thomas gets the better of him and gives him a lane, but he doesn't give him enough to make the pass because now Thomas has the preferred line instead of Molina, and Thomas will clear him going through the corner. So the battle for second has been settled in favor of Henry Thomas right now. Andres Molina will settle in the third ahead of Sam Donato and Jared Polanski in the top 5. Jack Halleck in 6th. Peter Onjak, Duke Antek in 8th place. Chris Maley in 9th, doing what he needs to do to try and win the championship, but Stephen Hunter is also doing exactly what he needs to do by running in the 10th position. He's going to try and shut out Chris Maley's hopes of winning a championship right here. It's going to be a close battle between these two, but unless something drastic happens to Stephen Hunter, I really think this championship is going to come all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Maley is doing what he needs to do and needs to move up more, but in a road course like this, it's very tough, and Hunter is doing what he's doing. He doesn't need to rush it. He just needs to concentrate and be where he is. He just needs to stay in that area, and he'll be fine.
Another thing to keep in mind, neither of these two drivers have been confirmed for a seat for 2021. So this is an audition of sorts for team owners to take a look at these two and say, hey, we're talented enough to contend for a championship. Why not put us in your car for next season? As Stephen Hunter tries to close in on Chris Maley, that's the battle for 9.
Yeah, it's very interesting to know about that, because I know some cars have already taken positions in either props leagues or they've gone into different areas, so it's interesting that those two haven't yet, which is, I find, curious.
As Chris Maley powers around Duke Ansack, that is for 8th position. Can Stephen Hunter follow him through? It looks like he can. Going down into the next corner, Ansack takes a really wide line through the corner, and that's going to allow Stephen Hunter to make a move on him. I believe it'll be enough to get him by. And look at that 30 back there. He's powered his way to 11th after starting 16th. So a good run from him, just not good enough to where he can win a championship from.
Yeah, I mean, great driving by 44 to take over from Duke. 51 nearly gets under the 3, which would have been fantastic for him, but for now, he's still fine where he is, and the 30's done excellent driving, so it's still anyone's game, but the money right now is on the 51, just clinching it today.
Absolutely. This championship has come all the way down to the final race, and the way these two are driving right now, it'll be an action-packed finish to see who can hang on to win this race, because right now, it appears that Stephen Hunter will easily win his first championship in the inaugural season. But we still got plenty of racing left to go. We're only on lap 8 of this race, so anything can still happen in the final 2/3 of this race.
Yeah, exactly, but the 51 has done amazing this season. Let's not diss that at all. He's won 3 races, the only driver to run it this season. So, if anything, he does deserve it, but they got 2 hungry challengers still there in the hunt. Absolutely,
and keep in mind that 2 of Stephen Hunter's wins have come on road courses. He got one at Kyalami, and he also got one at Spa as well. So he knows his way around road courses, and he's running in 10th right now, which is not, I assume, where he wants to finish, but he'd be plenty happy with a top 10 if that means he can celebrate a championship here at the final race of the 2020 season.
Yeah, exactly, and because of that reason, Hunter has the biggest advantage of all. He's won 2 road courses, won 3 overall. He knows how to win. He knows how to stay in position, and basically that's what he's just doing. He doesn't need to focus on the victory. He just needs to focus on surviving and staying in that top 10.
Meanwhile, Chris Maley has gotten around Jack Halleck in their battle for 7th, so moved the 44 up to P7 in this race. It'll be interesting to see exactly how far up the ladder Chris Maley can get. He's in 7th right now, but he's got a big gap ahead of him to Peter Onjak in 6th. It'll be interesting to see if he can actually close the gap to Onjak and Polanski. But right now, he's doing a very good job running in the 7th position, trying to chase down a championship.
Yeah, Chris Maley's done excellent driving this season as well. All drivers have, really, but Chris Maley's done fantastic. The only downside with Chris Maley is, yes, it's a tall order so far to beat 51's point lead. and with how close they are, it's looking more and more harder as the race goes on.
Let's not forget either that Chris Maley also has a win on the road course. He won at Monza earlier in the season, so Chris Maley also knows how to win on a road course, and he's performing admirably here. He started in 10th, he's up in 7th right now. If he can get up there and contend for this race win, he could put Stephen Hunter in a very dangerous position if he were to slip out of the top 10.
That is true, but that's a long road ahead as Nick Ortiz still leads this race very hungrily and very easily as well.
He's formed a train of cars behind him, all about the same distance apart, each about half a second away from each other. They head down into turn 10. Nick Ortiz powers off the corner, and he will lead his 9th lap of the day as these cars shine under the beautiful night sky here at this beautiful circuit. And right now, Nick Ortiz is enjoying a half-second lead over Henry Thomas, Andres Molina 3rd, San Donato 4th, Jared Polansky rounds out the top 5. So good effort from all these guys, but I'd have to say Nick Ortiz is definitely driving his guts out to get his first career win. This is his last chance to get a win this season, and we know he's going to take it all the way down to the wire.
I mean, last time it was taken down to the wire, he barely made it into the playoffs. Let's not forget that. And so now he wants to prove that he deserved that playoff spot. And right now he's showing it.
Exactly, because now that this battle for second place is picked up again between Thomas and Molina, Nick Ortiz is going to try and stretch his lead out even further now that these two are battling for position behind them. Polansky has gotten around Donato. That was the battle for 4th, and that's allowed Peter Onjak to close right back in as well. And don't forget about Chris Maley back there. He's also gaining ground on this top 6.
And that's good news for Chris Maley right now, because Chris Maley can get a couple more places. And even if Hunter stays there, if Hunter makes a simple mistake, Chris Maley has then opened it wide open for either of them to win it. So I can't wait to see what happens there.
So Molina is patiently biding his time, trying to get this second position away from Henry Thomas. Thomas has proven himself on the road courses. He won pole position at Kyalami, a race which Stephen Hunter won, but it was a set of circumstances that prevented him from winning that race, as Henry Thomas tries to get around Nick Ortiz right there. He's closer than he's been the last few laps as we approach 1/3 distance in this race. I just don't see how he can get fully around the 91 at the pace he's got right now.
Yeah, the number 1 tried to put around inside on the turns there, but it wasn't enough, and Nick Ortiz is now just pulling away. Molina's catching up now.
Molina is indeed catching the one of Henry Thomas, and that's allowed Polansky to close in, Sam Donato to close in, Peter Onjak, and don't forget Chris Maley. He's closing the gap ever so slightly because Thomas and Molina are stacking everybody up behind them. But notice Nick Ortiz is not pulling away that much. He's keeping within touch of the lead pack, so he's trying his best to stay up there. But it's going to be interesting because with pit stops still to come, it'll be interesting to see how that cycles things out in the rest of this race.
Yeah, exactly. It depends. Nick Ortiz may be winning this race for now, but give it 20 laps time, and we might be seeing a whole different leader change. Leader top 10, top 20 even.
It could very well change the outcome of this race. Pit stops have changed many races before. It changed Motegi last week when Miles Mashburn won the race on pit road. So anything can happen in these races, and it often does. So it'll be interesting to see which car can prevail on pit strategy here, as Nick Ortiz tries to stretch out a lead, but he just can't pull away from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Ortiz can't really pull away, but he's just driving very smoothly and calmly, showing us why he's a playoff contender again. Just smooth, excellent driving by him.
Definitely. He's starting to pull away a little bit, but he's just not getting that massive lead we've seen on road courses before as they climb the hill going through this corner, and Nick Ortiz is starting to gap them a little bit. It's not nearly as big a lead as we've seen many times on road courses before, but that's actually a good thing because that allows us to get more intense racing for the lead here.
Yeah, exactly. Road courses are sort of those hit and miss, you know, you love seeing the twists and turns, but then you see the big gaps, but this is just beautiful seeing this sort of thing.
not just the beautiful aesthetics of this track, but the beautiful racing we've been seeing as well. These cars have been powering around. We haven't seen too many overtakes, but that's fine because these cars can handle this track very well as they go through turn 10 to complete lap number 12. Nick Ortiz has led every lap so far, and he will continue to do so going through the rest of this race as he starts to get a big gap over Henry Thomas. The gap is now about 0.7 of a second. But Ortiz had a bad turn 1 there, and that's going to cause him to give up time to Henry Thomas and Andres Molina as the pack starts to coil back up once again.
Yeah, that turn did not turn well, and number 1 here is closing it in. I don't know if he's able to take it over, but Ortiz just holding on.
He's doing everything he can to play defense right now. He's trying to run smooth laps, but he's also trying to defend against Henry Thomas's charge. He's done plenty before to try and make his way up through the field, and I believe he'll be able to hold on here because he's got a big enough lead now to where even if Thomas sends it into the corner, he won't be able to do much with it. As Thomas really laid onto the brakes there, he dives it into the corner just like I predicted he would, as Ortiz manages to hold the position because Thomas was too far back to make a move, and as we're getting close to the end of this lap, we'll hit 20 laps to go.
I mean, it's very risky trying to do a dive bomb around this course, but good try on the number 1, but it's very risky. Very, very risky. Hopefully he doesn't try that again.
Rounding turn 10 for the 13th time in this race, Nick Ortiz will take the stripe, and we will have 20 laps to go in the 2020 season. And Nick Ortiz has led them all so far, but he hasn't had an easy ride of it because Henry Thomas is still right there, challenging for the lead, as now Thomas had a slow turn 1. That's going to allow Ortiz to pull away again, but Thomas makes another dive into turn 1 as they're side-by-side for third behind them between Andres Molina and Jared Polanski in the 18.
Yeah, Molina's now got to try and hold on for third now. Can't battle for second when you can't hold on to third, can you?
And notice Chris Maley has gotten around Peter Onjak to move himself up into 6th position. So Chris Maley has been slicing his way through the field very effectively, while Stephen Hunter's been stuck in 10th for the entire race. So Maley's doing a phenomenal job of trying to saw his way through the field, try and get up there to a win. He's only 2 seconds off the lead. I just worry about his overtaking ability on these cars that are side by side, because it's one thing to pass one car at a time, it's another to try and pass 2 at once.
Yeah, exactly. But great driving by Chris Maley to chop up inside field, but that could be all for naught if Hunter stays where he is right now, and that is in 10th position.
That is true. And Molina appears to give up the spot to Polanski for now, so Polanski has moved himself in the 3rd position. Chris Maley is actually working on Sam Donota right now. That is the battle for 5th. So very good driving by Chris Maley to make his way up into the top 10. And almost into the top 5 as we approach lap 15.
Yeah, Chris Maley showing us why he deserves the championship right now. He's been doing great driving on this course, but great driving could be all for naught if Hunter just stays where he is, and that's the problem.
That is true, because Chris Maley needs to finish at least 16 spots ahead of this 51, or 11 if he can win this race. So, if Chris Maley can win this race, Stephen Hunter has to finish 12th or worse to give Chris Maley the championship. Any other position Chris Maley finishes in, and he will have to finish ahead by at least 16 spots, 15 if he leads a lap. But right now, the battle is for the lead, and Henry Thomas is right on the back bumper of Nick Ortiz, trying to make a move, and he's going to dive it in once again, but Ortiz covers him off just so effectively.
Yeah, great driving by Ortiz, very defensively, but very calm and precise. Great driving by him.
Absolutely, as they power around the curve once again. Henry Thomas is doing everything he can to try and get around this 91, but Nick Ortiz is proving to us and to the world that he is one of the best drivers in the sport. He had a win taken away from him at Motegi last week. He's trying to redeem himself this week with a resounding victory here. He's led all 15 laps so far, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold on for these final handful of laps and try and take the win.
Yeah, exactly. We're pretty much now at the halfway point, where their pit crews will be trying to discuss with their drivers about pitting and where to pit. So it'll be interesting to what strategy each driver takes and who's going to take the most advantage from it.
Exactly. The halfway lap will come next time by, so we will be halfway through the championship finale next time they cross the line. But Henry Thomas is still doing everything he can to try and get around Nick Ortiz, but the gap is growing now between these two cars. I'm curious to see what the pit strategy will be for these guys, if they're going to stretch it all the way to the end or if someone's going to try and undercut here. If Henry Thomas can't get by Nick Ortiz on the track, I'd try getting past him in the pit lane to try and do an undercut on him, try and get around him on the pit lane. That way you don't have to do any passing on track.
Yeah, but the problem is that if Nick Ortiz doesn't, he might get a huge enough lead. You might not be able to see him again. You never know. Let's see what happens here.
That is true. Nick Ortiz has had a masterful class drive so far, but he's still vulnerable to problems just like everyone else in this field. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because no one's immune to bad luck in these races. We've seen it time and time again. The leaders running into trouble in these races. Justin Hutchinson at the Superdome, for example. Alexa Lutchen at Chicagoland early in the season. It's happened to the best of them, and it can happen to Nick Ortiz as well, as Henry Thomas and Jared Polansky have closed in. This is now a 3-car battle for the lead.
Yeah, great driving by Polansky to catch up to the number one and try a challenge now for the top position. But yeah, like you said, like bad luck, like in Brazil, for example, that massive crash that happened there.
Absolutely, a terrible crash that took place there. We're flashing back to some of the wonderful memories we've made here this 2020 season, and we're bound to make one more with this fantastic finish to this race as Nick Ortiz powers around the next set of corners comfortably ahead of Henry Thomas, but Thomas makes another dive into the corner trying to get around him. Seems to make up a lot of time on corner entry, but he gives it up on the exit, and that is not what you really need to have happen if you're going to hope to keep this lead.
No, exactly right, mate. And that's going to be a big issue down later on, I reckon. So it's going to be wearing and tearing those brakes apart.
It's gonna get them really hot, that's for sure. And as they come down through to complete lap 17, Nick Ortiz has Henry Thomas right on his bumper, but he gets a bit of a gap going through turn 10. And Nick Ortiz has now locked up the point for most laps led. So Chris Maley and Stephen Hunter cannot get that point anymore. So now all Stephen Hunter has to do is finish 11 for better, and the championship will be his.
Yeah, which is what Hunter really wanted, actually. Another driver just to lead the most laps makes it easier for him just to stay in position. Because right now, that's all he's been doing, just staying in that top 10, and he's been sailing fine.
So that means one of Chris Maley's opportunities to win this championship has just closed, so he needs to get out front, lead one lap if he can, maybe through the pit stop cycle, and try and finish at least 15 spots ahead of Stephen Hunter. If he can't do that, then this championship will belong to the driver of the Amazon Ford.
Yeah, but it also already sort of deserves to be him after his amazing wins he's done in this series. The amazing driving he's been doing. He's one of the best we've ever seen.
Absolutely, and we'd be thrilled to have him back if he decides to settle on a team. He'd be a great asset for any team to have, and I'm sure a lot of team owners will be on the phone with Stephen Hunter in the off-season to try and get his services signed up for 2021, because he's yet to sign with anybody yet. I'm really hoping he gets with somebody, because if he signs on to a top-running team, they will be a serious threat to go back-to-back championships in 2021.
That is true, but let's also not forget about the 44, who hasn't signed on for anyone as well. And they're sitting right now happily in second, but they can still win it still, overall in the championship.
That is for definite, that is for certain. Because all of these guys are trying to get a ride for 2021. Chris Maley hasn't announced his plans yet, but I'm sure with the run he's got here today, he'll find somebody to take him on. As Stephen Hunter continues to run in the 10th position, he's been there all race long. But the good news for him, he's got about 3 seconds back to the 11th place car, so he can take this very easy. He can relax and just ride around for these final 14 laps. and just savor the opportunity to win his first championship. He's already locked up Rookie of the Year. He's already locked up the Manufacturers Championship with Ford. Now he's trying to get the trifecta and go for this Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, the trifecta, that's a very rare thing, and he could do it today. It's just, can he hold on? That's the main question. So far, he's holding on great.
Absolutely. He's getting very close to winning his first championship, and the first championship ever in this series, as right now he completes lap number 19 in the 10th position. So he's had a very steady race. He hasn't really moved from that position all race long, but he doesn't really need to, because all he needs to do now is finish 11th or better, and he's got a very nice gap to 12th place. So he can just have a very solid race from here on out, just run where he's at and claim his first championship.
Yeah, exactly, and then all Pick will be going wild, all his mates will be going wild, his family will be going crazy. They'll be telling him to go on, keep on doing what you're doing, Hunter, and
Absolutely. And he's closing in on Jack Halleck for 9th. He doesn't need to make that pass, but it'll be extra special if he can finish as high as he can in this race, because he really wants to outscore as many people as he can. He's going to outscore the entire field if he can win this championship, but he's trying to get around Jack Halleck right now, and right now Halleck's proving to be a bit too high of a wall for him to climb right now.
Yeah, but really, I wouldn't, if I was Hunter right now, I wouldn't be trying to push right now. I would be just staying where he is, just making sure I don't try to force anything, and just making sure my car stays intact. That is my plan. I would be doing.
So Nick Ortiz continues to dominate this race. He's led all 19 laps so far, but it looks like Nick Ortiz is headed for pit road. He's going to try the undercut on Henry Thomas. This is a very early pit stop for Nick Ortiz and for Andres Molina as well. He also came down pit road, so Henry Thomas will take the lead of this race. But Nick Ortiz, this is a very early pit stop. We didn't expect these guys in for another 8 to 9 laps or so. So it'll be interesting to see where these guys cycle out. They'll cycle out at the tail end of the field. What I'm curious to figure out is if these guys will be able to gain a lot of ground on the cars that stayed out.
It's very interesting for them to pit this early in this track, but it will be very interesting. When will the other cars pit now? And can Ortiz and Molina, we also saw Fitzwater in there, can they catch up?
Yes, that is true, but Henry Thomas has continued to lead this race, has taken the lead of this race from Jared Polansky, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do. If they're going to try and overcut Stephen Hunter maybe, by running it out as long as possible and hoping that Stephen Hunter gets caught up behind in the traffic that they're inevitably going to get caught in this race, because all the cars are spread out now. This whole track is pretty much filled with cars, so there's not really a safe gap to get yourself into. It's going to be interesting to see if Ortiz and Molina can fight their way back.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. Like, I think I can see Ortiz maybe in 10th, I do believe. Or is that just my imagination?
Here comes Jared Polansky on the pit road. He's also going to try the undercut on Henry Thomas to try and get around him on the racetrack. So Thomas continues to stay out, but Polansky is pitted. That moves Sam Donotto up to 2nd. Chris Maley is now up to 3rd. So that's going to help him out in his bid to win the championship. But keep in mind, he still has not pitted yet, nor has Stephen Hunter in 7th position. The 30 has made his way up to 8th as well. So all 3 of the championship contenders now running in the top 10. It's still Hunter's championship to lose, though.
Yeah, exactly that. Hunter right now is leading, but it's also his to lose. If he makes one mistake in the pit road or one mistake in his car, that could end the championship for him and give Maley the massive win. 30's still there, but it's a long shot. A very, very long shot.
So Henry Thomas out in front of this race. Sam Donotto running 2nd. Maley 3rd. Peter Onjak 4th. Duke Anzac rounds out the top 5. Jack Halleck in 6th. Stephen Hunter in 7th. The 30 and 8th. Lane Sanders is up to 9th. And the last time they crossed the line, it showed Jared Polansky in 10th, but he was on the pit lane, so that will change next time they cross the stripe. But Henry Thomas has now got a very big lead of about 1.5 seconds. It's the biggest lead we've seen anybody hold all race long. So my question is, how long will this one car try and stay out for?
I reckon he'll stay out for at least maybe 4 more laps, 5 more laps, I reckon. And then he will go in the pit. That's my bet. But In this track, you never know. You never know.
We're checking to see if any cars pitted this time, and it doesn't look like anyone is. So Ortiz and Molina are at the tail end of the field in 38th and 39th right now. But they're running lap times faster than anybody has ever run this track before. There is Ortiz back there. He's running in 38th right now. But he's running some really fast times, and he's going to catch the back end of the field very shortly. So my question is, will he be able to catch Fitzwater and pass him for position? And when these cars pit, will he be able to take the lead back?
I reckon it depends on when they pit as well, and who pits when, because that's going to play a major part of it. But Nick Ortiz can definitely do it. He has shown time and time again he can do that sort of driving, but we just got to wait and see.
We are approaching 10 laps to go in this 2020 season. Henry Thomas has a 2.3-second lead over Sam Donotto. It's all smooth sailing for car number 1, who started in position number 1. But he still needs to make his pit stop, as well as everyone else in the top 10. As Joshua Lee has moved up into the top 10, a good run for him in his final race, substituting for Alexa Lutchen. She will be back in 2021, and we'll be extra glad to have her back. Thomas will stay out another lap, as will the rest of the field. So Thomas will take the strike to take 10 laps to go in this race. It'll be a very challenging final few laps for Henry Thomas. If he can pit and stay ahead of Stephen Hunter and Nick Ortiz, this will be considered a win for him. If he can't do that, then this whole strategy will have gone to waste.
Yeah, exactly. But you never know. It could be the great strategy that we've ever seen, or it could be the most dumbest strategy we've ever seen. We won't know until they pit.
And we'll soon find out, because we're approaching 9 laps to go in this race. And we're getting closer to the time when we expected a lot of these guys to pit. Nick Ortiz and Andres Molina did something we never expected. They went in extremely early. We'll see if that helps them win the race or not. But Henry Thomas is certainly happy to be leading this race in clean air, and he's got a very nice lead of about 2.1 seconds over Sam Donotto. So as he enters the back straightaway, he's got nobody in his mirror, and he can just smooth sail and try and save a little bit of gas to try and stretch this to make it a one-stopper.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I expect from the road course. That big of a gap. And looks like Nick Ortiz was trying to hold off and maybe conserve a little bit and then just forward for the rest of the laps. Maybe, but we'll never know. We'll have to talk to him later.
Now that he has fresh tires, he will definitely be able to floor it through these final 8 laps, 9 laps of this race. As Henry Thomas crosses the line and to enter lap 25, we're getting closer to the end of the season, folks. And Henry Thomas is looking for his second win of the season. He hasn't won since Pikes Peak, all the way back at race 5. So it's been a long wait for Henry Thomas to try and get his second win. But he could very well make it happen, as we check in on the gap between Ortiz and the leaders. And as they cross the line, it looks like they've yet to cross the line now. They're still about 30 seconds off the lead. But, yep, they just updated the timing, and Nick Ortiz has passed Zachary Fitzwater for 37th, and he has gained about 2 seconds on Henry Thomas. So that undercut is proving to be very effective as he's starting to close in on the tail end of the field.
Yeah, he's slowly and steadily catching up, and that could be Nick Ortiz's first win. But laps are slowly counting down. Time is nearly up on a spectacular series that we've had.
So with Henry Thomas out front, Sam Donotto is still hanging in there in second. Chris Maley third, Duke Anczak fourth. Peter Onjak rounds out the top 5, with Stephen Hunter running in 6th position. If he can finish there, his championship will be solidified, and he will be plenty happy with a 6th place finish to wrap up the championship. But you got to imagine he wants just a little bit more to try and send off his 2020 season in style.
Yeah, exactly. Hunter coming in the top 5 would be amazing. Hunter winning this race would be even more amazing, and just shows how much of a skilled driver he is. Be the first ever driver to win 4 races and just be a legend amongst the sport.
But he's got to get through Henry Thomas, Sam Donotto, Chris Maley, Duke Anczak, and Peter Onjak to try and get there, and Jack Halleck for good measure. So it'll be a while for him to get there, but if he can win this race, that'll be a definite way of sending off this championship season in grand fashion. But we still got plenty of racing left to go. We still got about 7 laps remaining in this race. So Henry Thomas is continuing to lead. He's yet to make his pit stop. Sam Denoto runs second. Chris Maley, Duke Anzac, and Peter Onjak round out the top 5. I'm curious to see when these cars will pit. They're gotta be getting close to their pit window. So I'm wondering if and when these cars pit, will the advantage fall into their favor? As Chris Maley has gotten around Sam Denoto, Chris Maley's now up in second. This could really help his championship hopes right here.
Yeah, that's what Chris Maley needed. He needed now to try and catch that number 1 now and pray for love just for the 51 to stuff up. He doesn't want the 51 to stuff up that badly, crash out, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely. As Sam Denoto hits pit road for his one and only stop of the race, he will be good to make it on fuel for the rest of the way. But Sam Denoto gives up the 4th position to pit right here, and that is going to allow Chris Maley to cement himself into 2nd place, 2 seconds off of Henry Thomas's time, as Denoto crosses the line in 10th place. But right now, it's the Henry Thomas show out front right now. He's led the last 7 or 8 laps of this race right now, and that's been his strong suit, is leading races and defending positions, and he's done that very well so far, but he's got to make one more pit stop, and my question is, will Nick Ortiz get back by him with this undercut strategy?
I mean, it's anyone's guess right now, and Nick Ortiz has been slowly catching up the field. I reckon it's a big possibility depending on how long he spends in that time slot, the pits, and also if he's backed up by the rest of the crew.
That is true. Like I said before, anyone is prone to mistakes on the racetrack, whether it be the leader, whether it be the last place car, or in this case, whether it be Jacob Hammond, who didn't even get to start the race. But anything can happen to anyone in this race, so I'm just looking forward to when Henry Thomas makes his pit stop, and we can find out if Nick Ortiz can get back around him. Ortiz is right now up until about 30th, but he still has a lot of cars ahead of him to come down pit road. But Thomas is staying out another lap. But Chris Maley's coming in. Championship implications right here. Chris Maley hits pit road for his final stop. He's going to undercut Stephen Hunter, who stays out. But my question is, what can Stephen Hunter do now that he's got clean air ahead of him? Hunter now in 3rd place.
I mean, Hunter would not be happy about that, but it could work with him if he can get a big enough time difference between the 44 and just pray that 44 stuffs up, somehow getting out of the pit road and trying to call back. It's very interesting now.
Things are coming down to the wire. We've got 5 laps to go in this 2020 season. Anything can still happen, and it often does in this 2020 season. We've had lots of surprise winners. We've had lots of surprise moments. We've had lots of intense action, and we're expecting a lot more here on pit road as Stephen Hunter tries desperately to charge towards his first championship. It's getting closer and closer by the lap, and now with Chris Maley out of the picture, at least for the time being, Stephen Hunter has to be thinking that he has to make this pit stop the best pit stop of his career in order to get around Chris Maley for keeps.
Yeah, exactly that. Because if he stuffs up or he gets caught by the traffic on the pit road, Hunter's dream of the championship might just slip away from him. So he's got to pray that he gets in quick and gets in fast.
Henry Thomas continues to stay out. So what so it's an interesting strategy for him to go this long. I'm looking to see if anybody comes in behind him. Joshua Lee stays out. It looks like Stephen Gale will as well. So everybody stays out that lap. Sam Denoto was just trying to get an undercut off, it looks like. So now Jake McMillan and JD Martin are in the top 10. Now, so is Cal Farrell, Bobo Jones, Justin Hutchinson. They're all in the top 10 late in this going here. They're going to try and make this overcut work. It's very well possible it can, but because of the leaders being held up in traffic. But Nick Ortiz has got to be in the catbird seat thinking his first win. Even if he's running in 29th position right now, he's got to be thinking his win is so close.
Yeah, even though he's led the most laps, which Ortiz should be proud of, he wants that victory. He wants to show to us that why he deserved that playoff position, why he's considered a great racer, and winning on the finale would just cap.
Absolutely. Nick Ortiz, remember that drive at Phoenix he got to take the fastest lap on the final lap just to make the playoffs by 1 point over Stephen Gale. He's proving to us that he's done well to get us to this point. As Henry Thomas continues to lead this race, we're coming up on 4 laps to go when they get to the stripe next time by. Will Thomas come in this time by? It looks like he will finally come to pit road. Henry Thomas makes his way down pit road. Duke Anzac will stay on the racetrack to lead a lap, and Stephen Hunter will as well. So move Hunter into second position with 4 laps to go. My question is, what can they do on their pit stop with these laps ticking away?
My thinking is, will car try to risk it? With so many little laps to go, they try to risk not even going into the pits. Because if they do that, that would be very risky, and I don't think Hunter should try that, especially with how much of a time lap difference they use.
With a championship on the line, I would very much not risk it, but I'm not in that car. That's Stephen Hunter, and it's his decision, and if he wants to try and risk staying on the racetrack, then hey, I'm fine with that if we can get some intense fuel gambling going on here. But Duke Anzac's now leading this race. He hasn't won yet this season either, and he will be back in 2021 to try and win again. But if he can get a win here, that would be a great way to end his playoff season.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of playoff contenders that we haven't even talked about because we've been focused on the main 3. But Duke Anzac's done a great drive this season. He's been always consistent, always at least in the top 10 overall so far in points. And so he hasn't been always around, but he's been doing great driving.
And right now he's in the lead, but I had to imagine he's going to have to come down pit road. Here he comes. Duke Anzac makes his way on the pit road. Stephen Hunter is coming down pit road now as well. We're looking, so Hunter will make his pit stop. Joshua Lee's coming down pit road, and it looks like this is the lap where the entire field is going to come down pit road right here. Stephen Gale comes in, Bobo Jones, Justin Hutchinson, Kevin Carter staying on the racetrack. He will try and lead a lap to get a bonus point for himself to try and move himself up the points ladder. But Kevin Carter is the only one left on this track that is not pitted. I'm curious to see if he can stretch it. I really don't think he can, but last time I doubted Kevin Carter could make it on field, he won the race. So don't count him out. Yeah. Don't count him out by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Carter has something unique about him. He has a bit of magical luck on his ass. Don't know how he has it, but he somehow gets lucky with fuel.
That is definitely for sure. With Kevin Carter now leading this race, he'll become the 4th different driver to lead this race if he can maintain the lead at the line. But we're coming to 2 laps to go this time. Can Kevin Carter hold on to win this race? Or because Nick Ortiz has made his way back up into 5th now. So with Hunter, Carter, and Lee still in the pits with Anzac, that will open the door for Nick Ortiz to try and get this win as Carter shoots down the back straightaway. There's Ortiz right behind Carter. So Carter will come into the pits, Ortiz will take the lead, and I assume this win will be all his.
That might be, but we also must not forget, Hunter's in the pits. Where's Maley? Maley could win this still.
That is true. Chris Maley still has a shot at it. Here comes Kevin Carter into the pits. That's going to allow Nick Ortiz to get around and reassume the lead of this race. Coming to 2 laps to go, Nick Ortiz is on pace to get his first career win. He's got a very expansive lead over the rest of the field. He takes the lead there, and we'll wait for the scoring tower to update itself. He's got about a 2.5 second lead over Jared Polanski in 2nd. As Duke Anzac is 3rd. Stephen Hunter's actually gotten the overcut on Chris Maley to work. He's now in 4th position. Chris Maley's all the way back in 14th. So with 2 laps to go, this championship looks like it's all settled in Stephen Hunter's favor.
Yeah, it looks like Hunter is going to be celebrating once he gets that checkered flag. He may not be winning this race, but he's going to be celebrating like he's won it all.
So Nick Ortiz back in the lead of this race. He dominated the opening 2/3 of this race. Pitted early to try and get an undercut on Henry Thomas, which so far has worked. And he's coming around to take the white flag this time by. This is going to be very close for the championship battle. Jordan Presto is just up ahead, as well as the 75. They're going to go a lap down, most likely, by the end of this race. But Nick Ortiz doesn't care about them. He's trying to get the win of this race, and he's oh so close to his first series win, finally, after all this time.
Yeah, Nick Ortiz has been salivating. He's been wanting to win a race for once. And now, on the finale, he gets his big chance, his big shot. He's been leading the most laps. He's been driving fantastically. And
here comes Jared Polansky back on the pit road. This is a two-stop strategy for Jared Polansky that I just don't see how it's going to work. Jared Polansky is going to fall out of contention for a top 10 finish. The white flag is out. We're on the final lap for the 2020 season, and Nick Ortiz is about to get his first win in the 1UP Retro Cup Series in the final race under the series name.
Yeah, Nick Ortiz has been driving great on this course today, and it's been showing us why he deserved the playoff spot, why he deserves to be recognized as one of the best drivers, and why he deserves to be with us next season.
He's got a ride for next season lined up with the Ford camp, but he wanted a win with Toyota so badly to send them off in style, and with a 9-second lead over Duke Anzac, I believe he'll be able to get that win easily as he rounds through the final few corners of this final lap. It's his race to lose right now, and I very much doubt he'll be able to lose this one.
I can't see Nick Ortiz losing this. He's got so much of a lead that if he does lose it must be with an engine problem,
or a crash, or a flat tire, or something. But I don't believe it's going to happen. Nick Ortiz has had a very dominant season to this point, and he's on pace to get his first ever win, coming down through the final few corners, heading down onto the short chute. Nick Ortiz coming through turn 10 for the final time in this season. Nick Ortiz has been waiting for a victory for so long, and as he rounds the final corner, Nick Ortiz wins the season finale. But behind him, Stephen Hunter is about to write his name in the racing history books. In the 1UP Retro Cup Series, no one has won a championship before, but Stephen Hunter will always remember that name. Stephen Hunter rounds turn 10, and Stephen Hunter is your 1UP Retro Cup Series champion for 2020.
Great racing by both drivers. Nick Ortiz, fantastic win. Stephen Hunter, congratulations on your championship. Coming third overall, that is podium in the final race is great, and to in the end stay in the podium in the top and finish line, it's just fantastic.
We're on board now with the champ as he takes his cool down lap around this beautiful 2.4 mile track, and he's just soaking it in right now, going around these twists and turns one last time on the cool down lap. Stephen Hunter, after 40 races, 39 races, he missed the Daytona 500 to start the season. He's only run 39 of the 40 races, but he still managed to pull out ahead of everybody else and win this championship. I'm really proud of him, and congratulations to this whole 51 team. They really deserved it. With 3 wins this season, no one else has done that. It's really impressive to see what they've accomplished.
Yeah, it's just been great driving by him. He missed, like you say, he missed the Daytona 500. And even without that race, he's done fantastically well. He's been on top ever since, race 10, race 11? And ever since then, he hasn't even looked back.
Absolutely. Stephen Hunter will always be known as the first ever 1UP Retro Cup Series champion, and no one can take that away from him. We offer our sincerest congratulations to him, as well as to Nick Ortiz for getting his first career win in the 1UP Retro Cup Series, and the last race to go to be called the 1UP Retro Cup Series. It'll be the 1UP Superstar Series next season. But we're proud of Nick Ortiz for getting his first career win, and as Stephen Hunter pulls into the pit lane, he can celebrate his first series championship as well. I want to thank Ryan Caggiano for all his efforts in the booth this season. I wish you luck in next season as well. I believe we'll have you back for the full slate of races next season, so I'm looking forward to doing that with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next for you this season, these coming seasons.
Yeah, I feel like I deserve a break going down in the lowest season next season for myself, but can't wait to see the big boys and the bigger leads with ya.
So, with that being said, from Ryan Caggiano and from myself as well, the 2020 season has come to an end. We want to thank all of our fans for watching with us this entire season. We can't wait to see you back for 2021 for the 1UP Superstar Series and the 1UP Nitro National Series. 2 new series, 55 races. It's going to be an incredible season for us and for you as well, and we hope to see you then as well. For Ryan Caggiano and for myself as well, for the final time this season, we say goodbye. Congratulations to Nick Ortiz on his first career win, and a huge congratulations to your 2020 1UP Retro Cup Series champion, Stephen Hunter, in the number 51 Amazon Ford.